Think you know racing? Think again. SailGP is back for the 2026 season. It will be bigger, faster,
They go over 103.
bolder. This is racing redefined. Think racing, think SailGP.
And we welcome you to the 2026 season as we get you ready for season number 6 of SailGP. I'm Todd Harris alongside Hannah Diamond and Stevie Morrison. You know, it was less than 2 months ago that we were Abu Dhabi crowning a new champion in SailGP, and it just so happened to be Emirates GBR.
Yeah, and what an amazing moment to see them take the final win in Abu Dhabi. But it's such a quick turnaround to this new season, so it's start fresh from here, and we're really looking forward to the racing.
Very little time for the Brits to celebrate, Stevie, because it's all back on, the training, getting your team together. It's now go time.
Yeah, I mean, it was literally after, wasn't it? And suddenly we see Ian Jensen there celebrating the victory, and he was moving away from the team. We had all these transfers going on. So yeah, very little time I feel to decompress for us, really. It was a great season, 2025 season, and this 2026 season, well, yeah, can't wait, really, to see when we get up and running.
All right, we have got 13 teams traveling to 13 different destinations, and we kick things off with a new destination, of course, the Oracle Perth Sail Grand Prix presented by KPMG. That'll start things off. And then, guys, as we look at this calendar, I'm going to give you a chance, and Hannah, we'll start with you. Give me one location that you are really excited about this year, Season 6.
Well, Halifax is back on the calendar, and there was an amazing event there last time we went there. The weather was pretty tough for the sailors, but actually the racing was incredible, and it's really nice to see them back on the calendar for Season 6.
And Stevie?
Well, I'm going to take event 4. You know, we missed it last year getting to Rio, and that racing down there should be incredible. And it's also worth remembering we got Pete and Blair from the New Zealand team, they got a gold medal. Marcini and Kaihana, they got a gold medal. Giles Scott got a gold medal there. Hannah Mills got a gold medal there. Nathan Outridge got a silver medal. I mean, half of SailGP won Olympic medals down at that venue, so they're all going to know the venue really well, but Sugarloaf Mountain in the background, my goodness, it's going to be spectacular.
And then it all wraps up Abu Dhabi the 28th and 29th of 2026. That will be Season 6, but a lot of work to do before we get there. And of course, all kinds of changes. We've added additions to the schedule. Stevie talked about it, going to Rio. Sassnitz is another town before we move on I want to talk about, because Sassnitz, I think, surprised a lot of people. The speed we had, Stevie, that one, the fans came out, and I think for the sailors, it was a pretty awesome event.
Yeah, I mean, we had great breeze, didn't we? And we did see the top speed ever on a race course in SailGP. But I just love the racing. A few shifts and a bit of opportunity. It was a pretty cool venue, wasn't it?
Yeah, that flat water, offshore breeze, and really top-end conditions. I hope we can see something like that again this season.
All right, after Emirates GBR won the title to wrap up Season 5, all eyes turned on crew changes. With the addition of another team in Artemis Racing in Sweden, that means it was somewhat of a free-for-all. Transfer window was wide open, and it did not disappoint.
SailGP's off-season has delivered as much drama off the racecourse as it has on it.
Look at the pile up at the bottom here.
In the lead-up to the 2026 season, the league's first ever athlete transfer framework was formalised, allowing crews to move between teams, with the new Swedish entry, Artemis, securing big names and experienced campaigners as they build towards a competitive debut. It started a shockwave of signings across the fleet. Nathan Outridge returns after his recent spell with Switzerland and has managed to recruit British wing trimmer Chris Draper from the Bonds Flying Ruse. Nathan and Chris sailed together with Japan, famously missing out on the title. With an opening to sit alongside the mighty Tom Slingsby, I'm sure it didn't take much persuasion to get proven performer Ian Goobs Jensen. He picks up his Australian passport to make the Bonds Flying Ruse all Aussie. Emirates GBR's loss in Jensen gave Dylan the chance to race with his Olympic partner from Tokyo, Stu Bithell. And that in turn opened the door for Kevin Pepinay to move to Germany and for Lee McMillan to move back to DS Automobiles Team France after spending Season 5 with Mubadala Brazil. With so much movement across the fleet, there are bound to be opportunities. With long-time Rockwell Racing flight controller Costner moving to Mubadala Brazil, Ed Powys has been promoted from grinder to flight controller. Jimmy Spithill made a bold move in bringing Phil Robertson back to SailGP at the end of last season. It paid off early for Red Bull Italy after they secured second in Abu Dhabi, their first ever podium result.
So I hope you took copious notes because there will be a test after this. It all started with the addition of Artemis Sweden, Stevie, and the return of Nathan Alvarez. Just like an old face, not old in age, but an old face in new places. Hannah, we've seen him with Japan. We saw him with Switzerland. He's been around SailGP for a long time. So Stevie, it's not a big deal that he's back, but now he's attracting a lot of talent to Artemis.
It's kind of a big deal. I mean, he'll certainly think.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I mean, he was, got to the grand final the first 2 seasons, and he's had bit parts to play. We keep hearing his name, but he's now back. And I mean, all my life, when you see him, but you see that team he's assembled. We wonder how all these transfers happen. Who moved first? My feeling is the first domino was knocked over by Nathan, sort of going in for Andy Maloney and taking on that flight controller role. I think that's where it all started.
Yeah, we know how critical the link is between the driver, the wing trimmer, and the flight controller. So to line up those key positions early as they could in last season was going to be really important. And signing Chris Draper from the Bonds Flying Rouge last season, he had a massive impact on that team in the 2025 season. So he's used to changing teams now as well, but reuniting with Nathan back from season 1 when they were representing Japan, it's a really formidable duo, but can they make it a team as one?
Hannah, you talk about formidable duos and reuniting again. You think about Nathan and Chris have been together for a long time. And then you look at the teams that have had success, like Spain, Diego Botín and Flo. You look at the other teams out there that have people that are together. I mean, Dylan's very familiar with Hannah behind him. And so I think there's that familiarity. Do you think that's what has driven a lot of these changes?
Well, all of these sailors have been sailing these kind of boats for a long time now. So within that time, they've been forming kind of these partnerships, and for various reasons, those changed throughout the years. But it's really interesting to see some of those original partnerships coming back. But it's going to be how they react to the rest of the team as well. Those combinations are really important, but there's 6 people on board, and they need to make it work as one unit.
I'm thinking about Blair Tuke and Pete Burling, again, another dynamic duo.
Yeah, and we'll get on to this a bit later in the show, but I actually think last year the Kiwis made a big change with Leo coming in, one of the big, that back 3, the flight controller, wing trim driver, and they were sort of a little bit on the back foot through the season, finding each other. Kind of think they're now potentially in quite a strong spot, having not changed anything. But yeah, I mean, you talk about Dylan and Stuart. I don't think there's anyone in SailGP with more pressure than Stuart. He must have been watching that grand final going, oh, please come second, guys. Please come second. I don't want to come into the defending champions team. And he's brilliant, Stuart, and he's going to bring a lot to it. But he's going into that seat with so much pressure on him. It's a great opportunity, but wow, it's going to be a pressure.
Do you think Biffle and Jensen were the 2 biggest pieces moved on the chessboard?
No. I think the Artemis moves were pretty huge. Did Jensen go to Australia before Draper came to Artemis? They won't tell us, will they? But I think that move around was maybe out of the control of Great Britain, and then Great Britain have gone. I don't see why you'd break up a winning team.
Right.
So I think Stuart's fantastic. Don't get me wrong, massive fan of his, and I think he's going to bring a lot to the team. Probably not from event 1. I think he's going to have to grow into the team, but. I think GBR were probably reacting to something that was out of their control.
Speaking of massive fans, who's not a massive fan of the return of Phil Robertson? We have seen Phil with China. We've seen Phil with Spain. We've seen Phil with Canada. We are now seeing Phil with Red Bull Italy as the driver. Hannah, how does that set with you?
Well, I think it's a great kind of addition to the Italian team. They're obviously looking to make a change at the end of last season and to make it ahead of starting this season. They obviously want to hit the ground running, and they certainly did that in Abu Dhabi with a podium finish. But Phil Robertson, he's a divisive character. We know that he spends a lot of time talking to Craig in the umpire booth, so he's going to... we'll have to see what he comes up with this year.
Christmas card.
He's a divisive character, but Stevie, he's good TV.
Oh, he's great TV. Anyway, he's a brilliant sailor. I mean, 2-time world match race champion. In many ways, he's so well suited to this kind of racing. He fires in, he's aggressive, he's willing to be punchy. But now that SailGP's sort of evolved, he's been out for a year. I think the evolution is now much more about small mistakes really hurt you. Yeah. So Phil's going to have to sort of juggle that balance of his brilliance with an aggressive decision versus the risk in taking it. So yeah, Phil's going to be box office, I'm sure of that.
Let's make no mistake about it. These are the best sailors in the world, but there's one thing even they can't control, and that is the weather. And Stevie, the reports, Hannah, we've been watching the weather. We've been watching the live feed coming back. This is not for the lighthearted this weekend. This is some serious conditions.
Yeah, whenever you go to a venue, of course, they say, oh, it's never normally like this here, But we have the Fremantle Doctor. It's a sea breeze. Now, we desperately don't want the Fremantle anaesthetist to put us all to sleep out there. Told you you'd laugh at that one. But we have the forecast is it's serious breeze. I mean, it's almost too windy. We've seen in training it's been
It's been pushing the teams, and it's not just the breeze, is it, Hannah? It's the sea state the crews are going to really find hard here.
No, that's right. We were talking back to Sassnitz from last season. That was really top-end wind conditions, but it was perfectly flat water. The difference here is the wind is coming from the direction of the sea, so we get that sea state kicking up, which makes these boats so much harder to sail. And we've seen already there's been a couple of injuries, things like that.
I was going to bring that up. I didn't want to be the bearer of bad news, but there have been some significant injuries. Stevie, you and I have both watched the footage multiple times, and I don't want to say look away because this is hard to watch, but if you've been on one of these boats, you know how bad it is. We'll start with Chris Draper on his new boat with Artemis. Now, when you watch the video, it looks a bit innocuous. He takes a tumble, but when you describe what is that webbing made out of and how it's not soft.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like wire. It's so tight. But you see them do a round up here, and you actually watch there. The boat lifts up and then grips, and Chris just gets thrown out of his seat. I mean, I've seen on his Instagram that he said I was a bit lazy and done it. But yeah, I mean, it looks like he started the 2026 season with lip fillers, unfortunately. But he's going to be back sailing. He's got a face mask on, protection. And yeah, I mean, it just highlights these boats are going really fast. It's not like a Formula One car where you're tucked into this safe cocoon. You know, the sailors are all exposed out there. They're in the weather, they're on the water. And just come back to that sea state, you know, when it is flat, they're trying to fly these boats within a really fine margin of height. But if the water height, because of a wave, has got maybe half a metre between top and bottom, then where do you put it in that? Do you drive at 50% and be really safe? Or do you drive at 90% where the risk level goes up, you're going to go faster? And that's what these teams have all got this weekend, is how much of this horsepower do we actually, risk putting down?
And Chris Draper wasn't the only one. It was a nasty-looking knee injury for Ian Jensen as he gets on board. And again, this is a tough one to watch. Watch the speed. Hannah, talk about the G-forces that they feel. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and we get used to seeing these sailors sail the boat so well because they're so well practiced at it, but actually they're really trying to find the limits. So I think the gap, the new crew configurations, and stepping straight into some really difficult conditions has made for a pretty hard few days of training.
A crossing like that with the sea stake at high speed, they make it look easy how they bounce across the trampoline, whatever, but that is like standing on a mechanical ball on ice skates. I mean, it's just not easy.
Well, I think one of the best examples of that is when we see some of the guest sailors.
Valtteri Bottas.
Yeah, so professional athletes
Formula
from other
One drivers.
sports, when you look at them trying just make it across in their own time, you see how difficult it is. We don't get a picture of that because when you're there on a training day or a racing day, you're crossing the boat 50 to 100 times. So you get really used to it. But if the boat just hits a bad piece of sea state, or the driver has to make an adjustment, or the flight controller even, that can really throw your step. And that can lead to some injuries, for sure.
And when it's not sailors getting hurt, Stevie, it's boats. And we thought, everyone get there, let's bubble wrap these boats, bubble wrap everyone, keep them safe until they get into the starting line.
Yeah.
Spain, not so lucky.
Yeah, it looks like Spain are not going to race this weekend, unfortunately, Todd. And again, it's going to have to be evaluated, but I'm sure we'll see the video here. We're coming on board the Spanish boat, and you see they're doing a jibe there. They've put the boards in, and it just crashes down. Now, there's a very complicated system for how the boards drop, the angle they go in at, and the exact sort of angle they're going to land depends on where they are. But again, if the sea state's changing, the angle of that needs to change. Did they hit someone in the water? Was it that they dropped at the wrong angle? Was it just that they dropped at the right angle, but then the sea state changed? We don't know. That's going to have to be investigated as to was it anyone's fault? Was it a mistake? What it was? But what has happened is that board casing is really damaged. Again, because they're going so fast, the loads on these things. We're not talking like, a little push. We're talking tons of load going through these, lightweight carbon, bits of equipment. And yeah, I mean, devastating for the Spanish team. Well, and for SailGP, let's be honest, the 2024 champions, they were so good last season. So my heart's out to them a little bit. I feel gutted for them, really, because they were sailing pretty good in practice.
Carbon fiber is so strong, but even it has its breaking points, and we've seen them push it to the limit. Also, we're getting word from Perth that Phil Robertson, the driver for Red Bull Italy, not feeling so well, so he's a bit under the weather. We'll try to get more information on that to see if he will be able to go, because if he can't, that will change things dramatically. Will we see the return of Jimmy Spithill as an alternate driver? And for more, we check in now with Lisa Darmanin.
Thanks, Todd. Well, we're here. It is the 2026 season launch party, and I managed to get driver of Artemis SailGP team and returning Nathan Atteridge and our recent champion Dylan Fletcher from Emirates Great Britain. Dylan, we'll start with you. How excited are you to get back racing?
Yeah, pumped, to be honest. It's great to be here in Perth, Fremantle, sailing these F50s. Some fantastic conditions the last few days. It's been full noise out there, so looking forward to getting 13 boats on the start line and getting going.
And Nathan, it must be really exciting for you to be back. I know there's been a lot of anticipation. How's the training been going?
We've had a rocky training, to be honest. We had a bit of a crash on our first day sailing and Chris Draper got quite injured. So, we had to pull on our reserve sailors yesterday and got Dave Gilmore on the boat, and he did a great job on the wing that day. And yeah, we've had sort of tricky conditions. Got the Fremantle doctor that when it blows, it's windy and it's wavy, but we've also had some offshore conditions being out there a bit earlier in the day. So, just really excited to be back to be racing and can't wait for the weekend.
And Chris is all good. He sailed today in practice and ready for the weekend?
Yeah, Chris he's tough. He's got a lot of stitches in his lip at the moment and he's in a lot of pain, but he got back on the horse today and came sailing with us and did a fantastic job, and hopefully has a good sleep tonight and we get another good warm-up tomorrow.
Awesome. And Dylan, how's your training been going? Obviously, very windy conditions, quite bumpy out there. I guess what changes for you as a driver? So much concentration, I imagine.
Yeah, it's been good. We've got Stu joined our team, with Goose leaving to the Australians, so it's been great for me to get back with Stu. I think the last time we sailed together was the medal race at the Olympics, so lots of learning together, getting the comms back, and yeah, really been enjoying it out here. Parko, the local, has been doing a fantastic job of flying the boat in some big conditions, so let's hope the wind blows, the doctor blows this weekend.
And yeah, you touched on that, obviously getting the band back together with you and Stu, it's been so long. How important is, I guess, that synergy between you and your wing trimmer?
Yeah, I think it's, a critical role on the boat, and especially with Hannah strapped behind me, I think that the three of us have got a good relationship from going to a few Olympics together with some similar mentors and coaches, but I think we'll see how it goes. We know that it's a long season and the standard's just going higher and higher, so we've got to manage our expectations.
And Nathan, obviously you're representing Sweden, but you are an Aussie. How much are you looking forward to the crowd coming down here in Fremantle? I know that there's quite a lot of buzz in the city already.
Yeah, it's awesome to kick off the season in Australia, and the last time I sailed here was 15 years ago for the Combined Worlds, which actually sounds like a long time ago when I say 15 years, but it's an amazing sailing venue, and I hope a lot of people come down and turn out and watch the racing.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much both for chatting. Good luck this weekend and enjoy the sailing. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, thank you very much, Lisa. Very telling. What did you glean off of what Dylan Fletcher had to say?
Well, I think, they've got to rebuild the partnership between Stuart and Dylan. They might have an Olympic medal together, but it's a wider team and there's not a lot of time before they get racing, and it's going to be top-end conditions to get started in.
And Stevie, if you're going to pull someone from the sideline that you got to hit the ground running, Nathan Outridge has got to be the first one on the list.
Yeah, Nathan's a lot of experience. He mentioned there he's been to Perth, he sailed there a lot. He won a 49 World Championships there a long time ago now, but he knows the venue very well. I think had this Artemis team been coming into a light wind first venue, I'd say, right, they could be a real shock. Right. They could be right at the top of the fleet. I think this is going to be a baptism of fire, just as Hannah said. As good as sailors as they are, they've got to find each other. And you don't really want to be finding each other at 100 kilometres now.
And that's why he's the perfect lead man. He gets me right to where I want to go, and that is prediction time. Stevie Morrison and Hannah Diamond. All right, let's talk first of all, who do you like this weekend at the Oracle Perth Sail Grand Prix presented by KPMG? Who's going to take it? I'll give you, who's going to be in the final three?
Final three. So before we knew about any of the injuries, I think I've probably changed my mind a little bit since then, but the Bonds Flying Roos have always been really solid in the breeze, but they do have a new wing trimmer. We know that Ian Jensen has really good pedigree as a winner of the last season, but how can he slot into that team? So I'm going to say Bonds Flying Roos, New Zealand, and DS Team France.
Oh, good call. Esteban?
I'm going to say New Blackfoils are going to win. I think they've looked rock solid in training. They love a bit of breeze, and they are unchanged. And then there's definitely a little bit of jeopardy, but I totally agree. I think that the Bonds Flying Roos will be in the final, and I think France, Contan's going to be fired up.
They love wind.
I think they love breeze, exactly. They've looked good. I think, Lee McMillan is a brilliant addition to the team, but it'll be interesting to see how that all gels together as well. So there's a lot of gelling to do. I think the Spanish would have been a real challenger, but for the incident, so gutted for them. And let's see, there's a lot of very talented teams. Germany with a form team at the end of last season. But yeah, I'm going France, Australia, New Zealand.
All right, I'm not going to let you out the hook, guys. Not just one weekend. I want a prediction for the 2026 season. I know we're 13 events away from crowning a champion. Stevie, I'll start with you this time. Who do you like to claim the title this year, Season 6 SailGP?
Well, it comes down to one 12-minute race, doesn't it? Blackfool's going to be right in it. I potentially sound like a bit of a broken record. I do think in Abu Dhabi, light wind, Maloney, Draper, Outeridge, They're the, he's known as the wind whisperer, isn't he? Yeah. Draper's like the silky hands on that wing trim. So I think a light wind final, Artemis, if they can be good enough early season, they're going to come on late and really challenge for the title. Well, I'm going black foils, but I think it's going to be really tight. Yeah.
Okay, Hannah.
I also was going to say the black foils, but I think as last season, we've got to look out for the teams that start on not such great form, but don't have a shocker and then climb the leaderboard and are fighting out for that 3rd, 4th, 5th position going into the last event, because we know how powerful that can be.
I'll tell you what, Todd, it's going to be tighter this season than last season to get to the grand final. Rockwool, Germany, France.
What do we have? 8
Spain,
different winners last
Canada,
year.
All of them are in the mix. Italy, Phil Robertson. I mean, there's got to be at least 10 of the teams that definitely can go out and win events.
And when it's a pressure situation like that, somehow I keep coming back to Tom Slingsby and the Bonds flying race. I don't know why. I'm just saying. Stevie, before we go,
those titles.
Exactly. Before we go, let's talk about the format quickly that we'll have here. Any adjustments we need to be, or is it 3 up, 3 down, 3 races Saturday, 3 races on Championship Sunday?
Yeah, no, 3 races Saturday. Going to be big Prix, going to be some watch, that's for sure. And then, final 2 qualifying races. 10 points if you win the race, 1 if you're 10th, and then none if you're in those back 2. Accumulate our points, and the top 3 boats will get a chance to shoot out in Fremantle in front of the fans, and that last race is going to be probably the windiest race of the weekend, so it's going to be some show.
I'm excited. Good to be back with you guys. Happy New Year. We're excited. The 2026 season is here, and we are ready to sail and go racing. We hope you enjoyed the show today. Enjoy the racing, and we will talk to you after the Oracle Perth Sail Grand Prix presented by KPMG, event number 1 of the 2026 season of SailGP.